Hello everyone, Antonio here from DronePros.com. Now, today we have a very highly anticipated video. I don't know if you guys did see the last video I just recently uploaded, but excuse me, towards the end I mentioned if you guys wanted to see a full KISS flight controller installation video on a quad, I'd do that obviously if people wanted it, but started getting emails and actually quite a few emails on people saying, you know, we'd love for you to do it. I'm thinking of getting the flight controller, and if you guys can do a video, it'd be very helpful. So here I am today making, I guess we're going to call this a full KISS flight controller setup video. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be doing the full installation. We're going to be showing you the soldering. Also going to be showing you the programming as far as the GUI. I probably will break this video up into two parts. Part one that you're watching now is going to be just the installation on the unit and the soldering. Part two is going to cover taking it to computer, hooking up your radio to the GUI, and yeah, that's going to cover that part of it, so the computer side. So today we're just going to be covering the installation of it, and also the wiring as far as the soldering that needs to be done. That is going to be covered in today's video. So to get into everything, obviously the first thing you are going to need is a beautiful KISS flight controller. I got one right there. I did pre-tin it already. That's why if you're able to see, it already has some solder on the tabs I'll be using. You know, if you got a brand new one, it's gonna look like this, and that's obviously the bottom side, and then the top side here. But yeah, so I do want to quickly mention, guys, as I already mentioned in the other video, but I want to bring it up again on this video just in case you haven't watched the other video. The USB, the micro USB here, has been known. Let me turn off my soldering station real quick. It's on right now, I just saw it. But yeah, the micro USB has been known to break off. I've actually heard it from a few close friends of mine that have owned it. Also heard it from other people that have purchased it. Now, for me personally, it has not broken. As you can see, I haven't done any glue to it or nothing. If you're out there and you want to go the extra mile and you want to make sure it doesn't work, what I highly recommend you doing is going to your local hobby shop. Even Home Depot has it. Is picking up some 5 or 30-minute epoxy. You want to mix that together and just get that on either side of the connector, as well as this side of it. Obviously you don't want it on the front side, because then you'd have nothing to hook it up to. And when putting it on this side and that side, you want to be sure not to get it. It has little cutouts that can actually go to inside the USB. You'll be able to see it. You know, it's kind of hard to imagine it right now, but when you have the flight controller in front of you, you're going to be able to see exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, guys, 30-minute epoxy. If you want to use hot glue, you can, but obviously given on a hot day, hot glue will get a little bit tacky. It won't grab as well. So I'd really recommend 30-minute epoxy, and that's guaranteed to never break off. You can use 5-minute as well, or 30-minute. Personally, I'm a big believer of 30-minute. I come from RC planes, and 30-minute is just a lot stronger. But yeah, 5-minute will also get the job done. So that covers that as far as the micro USB. Now we are going to be doing a full wire up. I am using a Taranis radio. So I am going to be, everything I'm going to be talking about is going to be kind of referring to the S-Bus, the new S-Bus receiver. The guys, if you haven't tried it and you own a Taranis, even if you're not using the KISS flight controller, the S-Bus receiver is amazing. I love it. It's just beautiful. The resolution on it feels a lot faster, a lot crispier, and yeah, I highly recommend it. Obviously, if you are getting the KISS flight controller, you want to make sure you have the S-Bus receiver. It's not necessary, but it feels a lot better. But yeah, so everything I'll be talking about is going to be kind of referring to the Taranis as far as the ESC, the receiver wiring. And yeah, guys, so let's get on to it. So what we're going to do, we're going to start off with wiring the bottom side, or I guess we'll get started with the top side here, the flight control, since it's facing us here. The motor, or the ESCs go soldered on this side of the tabs here. You see there's tabs there, and there's soldering tabs there. All the ESCs go on this side of it. When you turn that 180, it's still on this same side. And motors 1 and 3 are soldered up here, and 2 and 4 are soldered on the bottom. The labeling on this, it's not labeled motor, it's labeled PWM. I don't know if it's because there's not enough space to write motor. I mean, I have no clue why they did that. But yeah, motor 1 and 3 is done here. 2 and 4 is done on the opposite end of the flight controller. Let me try and bring one kind of here up to the camera to see if you can see it. So obviously there's the flight controller there, and this is another one I have here. So let me get it to focus first. Taking her sweet time. Okay. So the way this is, you're going to see there, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but that says PWM1, that says PWM3. That one there says PWM5. Obviously we don't have 5 motors, so we don't need to worry about that. But for now, we're only going to worry about these here. And then on this side, if you're using S-Bus or let's say a PPM style receiver, not PWM, then all you need to hook up is channel 1, which would be throttle. You don't need to worry about the best, or the rest, not the best. If you are using like a standard receiver hookup as far as one channel, 1 wire per channel, then you're going to see it there labeled or throttle, roll, pitch, aux1 and aux2 labeled here. And then if you turn it 180, you can see the rest labeled there. There's also, when you open up the GUI, which is something I really love, the very first menu you see is a full wiring diagram of this flight control. That's a very nice thing that KISS did. You know, it really helps out a lot. So you can go and download the GUI, or there's also a manual online that'll tell you the full diagram. So yeah, guys, so what I'm going to do right now, I'll get the motors 1 and 3 soldered up here. Another thing I do want to mention, especially for you guys coming from Naze flight controller, the way the Naze is wired, obviously that's this over here is the nose of the unit. A Naze would be motor 1, motor 2, motor 3, motor 4. A CC3D would be 1, 2, 3, 4. A NASA V2, which doesn't matter, but I'm just going to say it, would be 1, 2, 3, 4. And the way the KISS is done is just like a CC3D. So motor 1 is here, motor 2 is there, motor 3 is here, motor 4 is there. As far as the orientation, as far as how the props spin, it's the same. It's identical to CC3D, identical to Naze. I mean, NASA, it's the same thing. So you don't have to worry about how they spin, but you do, especially coming from a Naze flight controller, you got to make sure that motor 1 is here and not here. 2 is here, 3 is here, 4 is here. And like I said, that is for this KISS flight controller. So we want to locate the wires, signal wires for motor 1 and 3. In my case, it'd be motor 1 here and motor 3 here. I know they're here because I kind of set them up already before. I pretend I'm got them already, but I got them right here. Now, obviously, from some ESCs out there, depending on what you're running, you're either going to have 2 PWM wires coming out of it, or 3, and they're probably going to be black, red, and white, or sometimes they're brown, red, and like an orangish. Locate, you know, you should know what your wires are as far as signal, ground, and power. Now for this flight controller, you only need the signal. That's all you need to worry about. You can cut the rest off, you can trim them, you can put them in heat shrink, whatever you want to do. Just make sure, if you do have a positive wire, make sure it's dealt with properly. And what I mean by that, make sure you don't just cut the wire there and it touches the frame, and then you're just not going to have a good day that day, because you'll probably short something out. But for you guys wondering, if you do want to solder the ground wire, you can, but you don't have to. By you soldering it, it's not going to hurt it, it's not going to help it. It really doesn't matter if you do solder it or not. All you need is a signal wire coming from your ESC. So I have motor 1, or actually this right here is motor 3, and then motor 1 is wired, let me locate it. Motor 1 is right here. So I'm gonna wire just one of them up here on the camera, because it's very difficult the way I have the camera set up for me to reach over for my my solder, and then to get the flux over here, and then the camera's here, and it's just really difficult. So I'm gonna try my best to solder one on camera, just so you kind of get an idea of what I'm doing. Let me turn on my soldering station. And for you guys out there that are kind of nervous about soldering, be sure to watch my how to solder video. It teaches you a lot of fundamentals, a lot of tricks I've learned over the years of doing RC, airplanes, helicopters, and obviously now multi-rotors. So I highly recommend that video. A very important thing, guys, when soldering servo wire, which this is, it's about a 22 gauge, you want to be sure you do not have the temperature set too high to your solder. If it's set too high, what's going to happen is the insulation starts melting back, and then where you started with a wire, or at least the insulation part, the wire exposed that far, by the time you're done, I'm going to exaggerate obviously, but you turn into a wire that's exposed about that big, and what happens is the insulation just keeps running back and back and back, and by the time you know it, you got bare wire about that much. Obviously that's an exaggeration, but so yeah, guys, be sure you turn your heat down. Be sure for this you do use flux, and you use solder using the same technique I talk about on my how to solder video. I got my wire pre-tinned. I'll pre-tin it just for the heck of it for the video right now. And remember, you want to turn your heat down, and you don't want to keep the heat on it too long. You just want to kind of dab it. Also make sure your tab here is pre-tinned, because if it's not pre-tinned, it just becomes a little bit more difficult. So right now I'm going to solder motor 3 on the flight controller. It's labeled PWM3. We want to locate that. Once located, you want to solder on the signal, and if you don't know what the signal is, be sure to look at the diagram for the KISS flight controller. If you watch the video before this one, I tell you guys what the kind of the diagram is. So I'm gonna pre-tin it. I'm kind of not trying to put my face in the way of the camera, but like I said, it's pretty difficult with the space I got. So I'm pre-tinning it there. Let me move this here so it's a little bit easier for me. And so what we want to do, that one there, PWM3, is right there. I'll zoom it in when I'm done so you can get a little bit better idea. But I want to put the solder to the tab and then introduce the wire. Right there. And then that is done. What I'm going to do now, guys, I'm going to move on to motor 1, followed by, on the top side, I'm also going to wire in the receiver. And while I'm there on the receiver, I'm just going to quickly mention to you guys how I'm wiring it. I am using a PPM setup, so I only need to worry about everything's going to be transmitted through the throttle channel. And the way that works, it's starting from this side, it's signal, red, and then ground. Now here you do want to leave the red in, because if not, your receiver isn't going to get any power. A really nice thing about this flight controller is it runs, it outputs regulated voltage. Pretty much on all these sides, on the positives, you'll get 5 volts out of it. But yeah, so that's really nice. You can just solder that up. So I'm going to be soldering that off camera, as well as motor 1 off camera. As soon as I'm done doing that, I'll bring it back to you guys so you can check it out how it came out. Okay, so now we have motors 1 and 3 soldered down here. Motor 1 is here, motor 3 is here. Remember, we only worried about the signal. And then on the top for the receiver, we have it into the throttle channel, which is signal, red, ground. And there we do want to leave the red wire in, because if not, our receiver is not going to get powered. But yeah, guys, when soldering a very thin gauge wire like this, not only is low heat going to be your friend, but flux is going to be very, very, very important for this, because if not, what's going to end up happening is your solder is going to have to stay too long on the wire for it to kind of melt the solder, and then it's pretty much just going to turn into very, very bad work. So that's where flux speeds all that up and makes it a lot easier. So always remember pre-tinning, low heat, and flux, and I guarantee you're going to have great results when doing this. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to do motors 2 and 4 off camera, and those are the ones. If I flip this board here, actually let me grab the other board. This board is obviously mounted here, so I did motor 1 here and motor 3 there. If I flip it, motor, let me bring it up here, motor 2, or let me focus it. Come on, focus. Yeah, motor 2 would be right there, right here, and motor 4 would be there. Obviously, if you have 6 motors, you'd worry about that. But I'm only going to solder the signal there, and then on the top side of it, I only soldered the signal. Let me see right here. Let's see if it focuses. Okay, so you can see there, motor 3, the signal's right there. Motor 1, the signal's right there. For the receiver, it's signal, red, and then black. And that's all I'm going to worry about. Another thing I'm going to do off camera, you can see here it says voltage in. What that is, this flight controller will run high voltage, so it will take up to 22.2 volts, which is a 6-cell. So obviously for us 4-cell guys, it's not a problem. So what you do, you'd run power from either your distribution board or whatever you have on your unit, and you'd power it here. Obviously positive there and negative to the left of it. What I'm going to do, just so the build looks a little bit cleaner, I'm going to actually solder it on the bottom. On the bottom, there's no markings. Let me get it in focus. On the bottom, you can see there's no markings whatsoever. So you kind of got to make sure, double check that you know ground is towards the center of the board, negative is towards the outside of the board. So towards the center would be ground there, and then positive there. So I'm going to do that off camera. As I mentioned, I'm going to do that and also solder the motor wire, or the motor's signal wire here, which is going to be motors 2 and 4. And I'll get back as soon as I'm done with that. All right, so got trying to hold the board here. I flipping it over, but I have motors 2 and 4 soldered right there. Obviously following the diagram for these flight controllers, and I got the power. You can see the power right behind there. We got power and then negative there. And the only reason I ran it through the bottom is just so it looks cleaner and it's not running here through the top. But if on your specific setup, you know, or just you don't care on how it looks, you can easily run it there on top and you will be good to go. But believe it or not, guys, that was actually the whole wiring as far as the KISS flight controller. That covers all we have to do. The next step is going to be plugging it into, let me turn off this solder station. The next step is going to be plugging it into the computer, and that's it, guys. Believe it or not, that is absolutely everything we have to do. What I'm going to do right now, actually, how do you guys like this 3D printed wrench I made here for the units? This is actually perfect for these, I believe, 8mm prop nuts that X-Hover has on their motors. But got sidetracked a little bit. One thing you guys want to do when hooking it up, I really like to emphasize this all the time. When you're first programming a unit, actually not when you're first, every time safety is #1 priority, but especially when you're first hooking it up to the computer, you want to make sure your propellers are off for safety reasons. You know, let's say you accidentally plugged in something wrong. You want to make sure, you know, it doesn't cut you up, or, you know, cut up, you know, someone nearby, or whatever the case is. But let me get all these props off. So you can see here I got the props off. If you guys want to go ahead and double check, triple check your work, make sure it's all right. The only thing that you could possibly mess up is if you wire your receiver wrong. Obviously you'd fry that. Or if you wire the input power to the flight controller, I believe it might have circuit protection. I don't want to test that. I'll leave that to someone else to test. But you don't want to rely on that. You want to make sure your positive is positive and negative is negative. And yeah, guys, that pretty much covers that. So the next video I am going to be making is going to be hooking this up to a computer, getting it all set up. And yeah, guys, if you guys are interested on the frame I have here in front of me, this is the new X-Hover Element. It is the 5-inch version, I believe. They have a 4-inch version, I think. I recently saw they were talking about that. But yeah, this here is a 5-inch by X-Hover. Once again, it is the Element 5-inch, and obviously made by X-Hover, you can see here. But yeah, guys, I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope you found it useful. If you are looking to get this flight controller, or maybe you already have this flight controller, I hope you're able to watch this video, and this will kind of shed some light on showing you how to hook it up to your quad. Because, you know, every time we got to learn a new flight controller, learn how to hook it up. We, a lot of us don't like it, and I know I would have loved it if someone actually had a video out when I was putting together this flight controller, because it just would have made stuff a lot easier. But yeah, guys, if there's any questions, any comments, any concerns, you can leave them down in the comment box below. You can also shoot us an email, droneproswithaz@gmail.com. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Till next time.